Vegan versus vegetarian. Hi, my name is Regitze Simonsen. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing, and I've been vegan for over 25 years. And I love to study vegan nutrition and also spirituality in my free time. So today I want to talk about what is veganism versus vegetarianism. So first of all, veganism is like a lifestyle actually, but mostly also a diet where you don't consume anything that comes from animals. So that means, of course, no meat, but also no dairy, no eggs, no fish, no honey. Honey is made by bees, and also no veganism also includes that we don't use products that come from animals, like, of course, fur, but also leather, wool, silk. Silk is made from a larva that makes silk threads. So we don't use anything that comes from animals, because we don't want to support the industry that often abuses animals in order to produce those products. And it's perfectly very easy to live without that. So vegetarianism is then people who, that's more strictly a diet, whereas veganism is really a lifestyle where you do a lot of things outside of the diet to not hurt animals. But vegetarianism is mostly just a diet where people don't consume milk, they don't consume meat, but they do consume milk, dairy products, so milk and yogurt and butter, and they may consume eggs and even fish. A lot of vegetarians, they consume fish, and you can also be a mix. You can be a ovotarian, which is someone who don't consume meat, but they do consume eggs, for instance. And a pescatarian is someone who don't consume meat from chicken, beef, pigs, for instance, but they do consume fish. And then there's those that do consume dairy products. So there's many different combinations actually, but then it doesn't usually go further than that, unless of course the person wants to. They still use products that come from animals, like leather and maybe fur. Most vegetarians don't use fur, also not because of the fur industry, but they may use silk and leather. Leather is so common in everything, in shoes and purses and stuff like that. So it's very common used. But yes, there's also some health benefits or health differences, because consuming the milk, dairy, dairy products and egg products and fish, there's a lot of health risk to that also, because it does come from animals, so it does contain a lot of hormones and also maybe does contain antibiotics, and fish contains a lot of heavy metals and also microplastic. So for health benefits, it's definitely better to be vegan. And of course, also for the animals, I mean, also the production of milk products is also very cruel actually, because the cows, they're being impregnated. In order to produce milk, they have to have a baby. So they're being impregnated against their will, of course. So they have a calf, and the calf is then taken away from them right from birth, because human beings want to take their milk. And then the cow and the calf is separated, and they stand there and they're crying out after each other, because they also have this mother child bond that human beings have. And it also, even in many cases, the calf is actually just being killed right after birth, because the farmer may not be interested in the calf at all. He just wants the milk, and in order to get milk, the cow has to have a baby. And then right after it's been taken away from the cow, maybe killed, or they're definitely being separated, then the cow is being impregnated again, so that she can have a calf as soon as possible, so that she can continuously produce milk all the time. And this is of course cruel, and it also is very, very demanding of the cow, and often they don't become too old until they're slaughtered, maybe 4 years old or so, where a cow can actually become 15, 20 years old in nature, or at least in captivity, if they are not producing calves and milk all the time, then they can become quite old. But as a dairy cow, she's not allowed to be too old, because when her milk production starts to decline, then she's not that valuable and she will be slaughtered. So that is a very good, that is why vegans don't consume dairy products, also not. Yeah, and then there's the dairy, and then there's the eggs. The eggs contain also animal protein, which all animal protein gives a high risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer, etc. And that is there's been many studies that show that. So that is well documented. And of course also gives high cholesterol and other things, all these lifestyle diseases. So that is eggs. And then there's fish. Like I said, fish contains a lot of heavy metals, antibiotics. All animal products usually contain antibiotics when they come from farms, because they feed the farm animals so much antibiotics, because they keep the animals in such close environments. They keep a lot of animals close together, so they have very poor living conditions, and also unhygienic, so they may get sick and die prematurely. Therefore they get antibiotics so they don't get sick and die prematurely. But all these antibiotics is not good for human health, as well as for the animals, of course, and the environment, because when we get these antibiotics through the meat, then we develop a lot of antibiotic resistant bacteria, so that if we get sick, then it becomes harder and harder for the hospitals to find antibiotics that actually work, because all these bacteria strains that are developed that are resistant towards antibiotics, they continuously develop resistance against new antibiotics. So the healthcare industry has to come up with new drugs that will work against all these new bacteria that are antibiotic resistant. And that is actually a very big problem in the healthcare industry. A lot of people, older people especially, they die from infections because of with antibiotic resistant bacteria that can be treated. So fish also contains a lot of microplastics because of the pollution. There's a lot of plastic that ends up in the oceans, and they get broken down into very, very small little particles that the fish actually consume, and they're so small that they actually get stuck in the meat and you can't see it. But then when human beings they consume that meat, then they get all these plastics and chemicals inside them also. And also most fish that are being farmed, they are also being farmed in very, very small kind of containers out, maybe out in the ocean or maybe in aquariums on land or so, but always there's a lot of fish very, very close together, and they get many diseases, so they also get a lot of antibiotics, so they don't get too sick until they get slaughtered. And then they contain heavy metals, because they get fed with fish waste, and there's more and more heavy metals in the oceans, because heavy metals don't go away. They just get recycled, because when smaller animals in the ocean, they eat the plankton and stuff like that, there may be small amounts of heavy metals, but it accumulates. Then bigger fish eat those little smaller creatures, and it accumulates in the bigger fish, and then even bigger fish, they eat the smaller fish. And the thing about heavy metals is that it accumulates. It doesn't get it doesn't go back out of the body, and that goes for fish as well as for people, and thereby we can get a lot of heavy metals through fish, and it also accumulates in our body and gives especially different brain diseases. It affects the nervous system in our brain. So, and then there's of course an environmental problem with consuming not just meat, but also dairy products, fish, and eggs. It's of course good when vegetarians don't consume fish. That is very, very good for the animals, for the health. Also, it's better than consuming fish. It's better not to consume meat than to consume it. That's for sure. But also the production of dairy has a big impact on the environment, because there's the cows. They have to of course get a lot of feed to produce a calf so they can produce milk, and feeding them requires a lot of grain. So most of the animal or the plant food that is produced in the world actually goes for livestock, not just for dairy production, but also mostly for meat production actually, but also for dairy production. And that also goes for chickens. Chickens have the same problems as cows, and also pigs. Also, it's the same problem with antibiotics, and also with the environmental pollution and the health problems. It's all the same problem from all animals, including chicken. Some people think that chicken is healthier, but it's really not healthier than beef or pig meat at all. So the environmental pollution is very impactful. Actually, the animal production is the main driver of the environmental pollution, and also environmental global warming, and also the amount of water that is used, and pollution, the amount of water that is polluted, and deforestation, because a lot of forest is being cut down, burnt down, in order for farmers to be able to produce enough grain for cows and pigs and livestock. So especially in the Amazon, so that is a very big problem, because the Amazon rainforest is very important for the global, the whole entire global system, the environmental system to function. It's a regulator for the global environment. So the environmental problem is also there when you consume dairy products, eggs, of course, since it comes from chicken, and the chickens have to be kept in order to produce those eggs. So it's again the same problem. They have to be kept in very small cages, or they are being kept in very small cages. They don't have to, but they are in order to produce more. And to cost less. They are getting fed, grains and waste products, really a lot of antibiotics also, in order to not get sick as fast. And then also fish is also polluting a lot in the oceans, and if it's not farmed fish, then fishing wild fish is destroying the oceans, because they use these trawlers that slide along the bottom of the oceans and destroy the bottom of the ocean. So that is very bad for the environment. It destroys big parts of the ocean, takes all kind of green with them, and also takes a lot of sea animals with them that they're not intended to be caught. And those animals, they are just they die, of course, when they're being caught, but they're not being used, so they're just being thrown back in the sea. So it's just a completely wasted wasted death, really. So it's definitely better to become vegan, both for your health, for the environment, and of course for the animals. Comment below if you have any questions, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, share it with your friends, and click that little notification bell if you're on YouTube. That way you get notified every time we upload a new video. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.